And welcome to today's walk. We're back down in the borders again near a place called Romano Bridge. This is just about a mile away or so from the village, and Kirkurd and Newlands Church. And we're going to do a bit of a circular walk out onto the hill today, mainly on old drove roads, but out onto the hill. There's quite a heavy frost this morning, and where we're going is the remains of an old fort, so hopefully that will be easily seen this morning with the frost. It is absolutely perishing. This should be quite an interesting walk. The church here, I'll pop up some information on screen and some information about Romano Bridge as well. So the name isn't quite what it seems. But anyway, on with the walk. And we're heading up that path there, so let's go. Only a few hundred yards and I'm already breathing quite hard. It's not the steepest just at the moment, but it's typical of an old drove road where they probably drop down to cross a river and then they get back out onto the hillside quite quickly. So we're going to be following this road around to the right, and eventually the ridge just above the trees that you can see there, we're going to be coming back along that. And I think just behind this hawthorn here, I think it is, you might just be able to make out some of the ramparts of the hill fort. So we'll have a look at that when we come back. So not a cloud in the sky at the moment, absolutely fabulous, but it is brass monkeys just now. But glorious. That's as we've gained up a little bit of height and we're levelling out now, so I think that's the worst of the climbing over for now. But what a spectacular view from here. I'll just point out the places that you can see. So the little village in front of the camera there, that's a place called Mountain Cross, which is for me quite a funny name for this neck of the woods. I've tried to find out a little bit about it, but there's not much information there. I'm thinking possibly it was a crossroads of drove roads, but if I pan round a bit and just in front of these Scots pine, you can maybe make out a building or two. There's that's Romano Bridge itself. Now, I drive through there on a regular basis and always thought the obvious choice would be that it's got Roman connotations, but apparently that isn't so. But this area did have quite a Roman influence. There's you'll be able to see a larger settlement just in the distance below the faraway hill there, and that's West Linton. And that is right on top of what was a Roman road, and there's forts dotted all around this area, and it would have been a link up to the Antarine Wall up towards Glasgow. But yeah, West Linton, just over the top of those hills, is the start of the Cross Borders Drove Road, which we'll get onto as we walk round this hill. and that's a fabulous little route from the A70. Sort of, it starts in the middle of nowhere at a car park and runs down to Hoyk. But yeah, what an absolutely stunning view. And there's a house just here, and I've got to say, that isn't a bad outlook for these guys. So the river below is the Line Water, which is, if you remember, the line station walk that we did earlier down from Peebles. So that flows into the Tweed quite close to Line Station. But what an incredible landscape, just with it's more snow than frost, but it's been so cold the last few days it's turned to ice. But yeah, just having that little bit of white on the hills, really, it's quite an incredible landscape. But yeah, this is what you get in the Scottish borders. Should be a walking mecca, really. And it's not, unfortunately. But yeah, I think the landscape speaks for itself. Saying goodbye to the Line Water for now, and you can just see down at the bottom there's a small burn that runs up between the hills here called the Flemington Burn. So we're dropping down to walk alongside that for now, and stay on this side of the burn, but you can see the track on the other side. We'll pick that up a little bit further up, so we're actually getting into the hills now. But it's actually very warm at the moment. There's quite a bit of heat from the sun, but the air is still cold. At the moment, this is fabulous. Couldn't have asked for anything better. So it looks like this drove route probably dropped down to the burn and crossed at the bottom here. And it looks as if it sort of carries on towards Peebles down the valley there, but It's been generally quite nice, easy walking, but there is still quite a lot of ice and solid ice about, making it a little bit treacherous in places. As you can see, the south facing hills have been getting the sun all morning, and most of the snow and ice is away, but wherever anything's in the shade, it's actually still really cold. I think the temperature in the car was about -4 as we came down, so still a lot of snow and ice lingering here. But we're just at the junction of the Crossborders Drove Road, which comes up from the right here. So the way we're looking at the moment heads up towards Romano Bridge, West Linton, and Kirkurd Newlands eventually. And if I pan round, and excuse the old relic sitting on the bench here, but in this direction. So the next town over for that is Peebles. It goes up through the trees there. Peebles is really the biggest place on the route, so it meets up with the Southern Upland Way, a bit the Borders Abbey's Way as well, a bit further down, eventually down to Howick. It really is a cracking route. I think more designed with horse riding and cycling in mind, but it's a great walking route as well, although services are a bit sparse.
It'd be a good gravel bike ride, wouldn't it?
But we're going to head back towards Romano Bridge up this track, and then back over the top of these hills here on a bit of a ridge walk. So hopefully that'll be pretty spectacular when we get up there as well. But there's not a breath of wind at the moment. It's actually quite warm in the sun, and it's just an utterly glorious day. It really is. And just sitting on this bench in the middle of nowhere, which is a really nice little location. Just looking down the Crossborders Drove Road back to where we've come from, so towards Peebles, and we're climbing uphill quite steadily now. It's a bit of a stamina sap in this snow and ice, quite treacherous in places still, but yeah, all good fun. So despite me complaining about how rights of way are pretty much non-existent up here, this is where Scotland comes into its own. Now you can see the track that we've just come up there, and it carries on through the woods down to Romano Bridge. But here, because we've got access, we're heading up onto the hill and the ridge walk, so we're just going to follow this fence line all the way up. But we do have open access to all of this, which is fantastic. But it might take us a bit to get to the top of the hill. Fortunately, the hills up here aren't particularly big, but the initial climbs tend to be quite steep and hard. But once you're up, and it's quite nice and rolling. So I'm not going to film as I go up, because all you'll hear is me slowly dying. So I'll catch up with you at the top, and hopefully we'll get to see some good views. Not quite at the top yet, but just have a look at this. Whole landscape is just opened up below us. The little village that you can see in front is Romano Bridge, and this range of hills is the Pentlands, and as I pan round, you'll see West Linton again in the distance there as I pan round. Right at the end of the hills, I'll pop an arrow on it, but you can just see Arthur's Seat at Edinburgh. So that's how far we can see today. And actually, surprisingly, there's a little bit of a heat haze. It's not that crystal clear that you'd expect on a cold day. But quite a haul up that. Just it's short and steep, which is typical of the Border hills. But well worth the effort for this. And once we get up there, should be even better. Well, that's us pretty much at the high point of the walk, and just wow, what a view. I'll annotate the names of these hills on the on screen for you. The one right in the background there with the that's quite distinctive is Tinto, which is just south of Lanark. Maybe about 20 miles away, something like that from here, but what an absolutely glorious view. Just looking back on the ridge that we've walked across, and if I pan round you can maybe make out just the junction where we sat on the bench, with the track coming up the hill and the track from the left. That's the Cross Borders Drove Road. But just ahead of us, hopefully you'll be able to make it out, is the hill fort, and I wasn't quite expecting it to be that well preserved. It's I think the snow helps a little bit, but certainly the ditches and the ramparts are very, very clear. And if I pan round again, you can probably see why they chose this place. It's got such a good view of the surrounding area. Not particularly big, but yeah, I'll do a little bit of digging, see what sort of information I can pick up and pop it on screen. Because I'm not exactly sure who or what the fort was, whether it was Iron Age, prehistoric, or it could even been Roman. There are a lot of Roman marching camps in the area, especially the on the road south down towards Hadrian's Wall. But I suspect this one probably predates the Romans, but I'm not 100% sure. As I say, I'll have a look and see what I can dig up. But this route is probably going to be about 5.5 miles all in once we're finished. Just I walk round the bottom and up over the top of the hills. So, but actually this is a superb route. I'd thoroughly recommend coming and checking this one out. And the weather we've got today has been quite a bonus. So there we go, we get a cracking view of the fort from here, just sort of perched on the side of the hill there. We're just walking up into the fort now, and This is the what would have been the outer ditch, and even after, well, I suppose over 2,000 years at least, they're still pretty substantial. And this looks like there's sort of 3 defensive ditches on either side. This is middle one, and the inner. So the defences for this were pretty substantial, and it's really quite a tiny area. Maybe what would you say? About 20 metres across, maybe 50 metres wide. Yeah.
Well, I suppose you could get a fair few dwellings in.
Well, you'd maybe be looking at, I don't know, 10 huts maximum, depending on the size. Whether they were sort of the typical roundhouses of the day, I don't know. But it's remarkably well preserved. Yes, and really their feat of engineering is exceptionally impressive. But when you look at some of these historic sites across the UK, Hadrian's Wall, I suppose that might be a little bit different because it was built by professional soldiers. But things like Offa's Dyke and Grim's Ditch, they're all over the place. But there's the view from the front door. At quite the location. So we're going to head back down to the house there, which is the one that we passed earlier on, and back down to the church. But this has been a fabulous walk today. It really has. So as I said earlier, I'll see if I can find some information and pop it up on screen for you. So I'm quite interested in finding out a little bit about this myself. And I'm just trying to work out how to get down this slope. So catch up with you in a little bit and take one last look at this view before we go back down. This is us coming to the end of today's walk. Nearly back at the car, just a little bit to drop down this hill, and it's been around the 6 mile mark actually, so slightly longer than expected, but what a fabulous little route. If you're on OS Maps, the route is there on OS Maps. If you search around Romano Bridge on the public routes, it's worth having a look at if you want to follow that. I'll pop a screenshot of my walk meter up at the end of this. And last but not least, if you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. Leave a comment or even consider subscribing to the channel. All that remains is for me to say thanks for watching and hopefully see you on the next walk. See you soon.